the City Council's Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. The purpose of this public hearing is to hear testimony on Bill number 170849. I recognize the presence of a quorum by Councilman O, myself, Councilman Johnson, Councilman Dom, and the author of the bill, right, Londell Reynolds Brown, Councilwoman. So will the clerk please read the title of the bill?
Bill number 170849, an ordinance amending Section 17-1603 of the Philadelphia Code entitled Economic Opportunity Plans Contents to require the provision of information relating to prior history of meeting goals established in connection with city contracts and the prior history of related corporate entities, all under certain terms and conditions.
Thank you, Ms. Williams. Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, would you like to give us some comment on this bill?
Thank you, absolutely, Mr. Chairman. Context and history is always important. So let me say good morning to my colleagues, to Chairman Jones and the members of the City Council Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, and to all of those who stepped away from your desk to join us as we drill down another layer on this issue of diversity and inclusion. Let me say thank you also to the administration that we worked very, very closely with, in particular for the partnership my office enjoyed with the mayor's policy team, the Office of Equal Opportunity, Economic Opportunity, and the Philadelphia Law Department. Collectively, we've come up with this measure today. Please note that a copy of the amendments to Bill number 170849 was circulated to all members of this committee. Let me begin by first saying that, again, we live in a city where many of us have echoed, talked about, debated, discussed ad nauseum the importance of ensuring that we have a government that looks like Philadelphia. This includes reducing barriers in contracting so that every person, every business that has the skill set has an equal chance to grow their business in Philadelphia. The significance of Bill number 170849 as amended is a step forward in the continuous battle to provide a clearer pathway for more meaningful and substantive opportunities for minorities, women, and disabled businesses to participate in all phases of covered projects or contracts. As amended, this bill requires the following, that a project owner, when developing an EOP that ultimately has to come before City Council, must disclose prior corporate entities in which it had control as a majority interest that have participated in projects subject to an EOP. Because we've discovered in budget testimony and in other hearings that too often organizations, businesses come before us with a new LLP or a new LLC, and thus they don't have recent history about how much they're committed to MBE, WBE opportunity. This bill would further increase transparency on the side of developers and provide both council and the Office of Equal Opportunity with a better ability to oversee EOP projects. This measure will also establish a new level of accountability. Thereby, if a developer does not meet certain MBE, WBE, DSBE goals in a project, they will have to answer for that performance on subsequent projects by being subject to increased oversight. Furthermore, this bill addresses the fact that many developers create new LLCs for specific projects. They have no history of meeting MBE, WBE goals. So in closing, goals remain vital to the process, but they only represent the beginning. Simply focusing on hiring is not enough. When you take a closer look at the definition of diversity and inclusion, you cannot have one without the other. It's the fact that when you have, and it's been researched and documented, that when you have a diverse and inclusive mix of voices at the table, research says that you actually end up with better decisions, better solutions, and always better outcomes. And I just left a PCCY where they have policy wonks from around the country looking at lead. And there, Donna Cooper made the statement that more importantly, when you have diversity and inclusion, it really does create a brighter and more sustainable future for our children. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, I thank you for these opening remarks, and I thank the team for the team effort. Thank you.
No, thank you, Councilwoman, for, as you say, focusing like a laser beam on this issue. I also know a great councilwoman that always said, if you're not at the table, then you are on the menu. That's another one of your quotes. I'd like to say, in my own insight to what you're attempting to accomplish, past performance is the best predictor of future behavior. So if people start new companies, doesn't necessarily mean they're taking a new sense of inclusion in that new company, and we want to know what your track record is. So, Ms. Williams, can you announce the first and hopefully only witness to testify on this legislation?
Iola Harper.
Ms. Harper, good afternoon. Oh, good morning. We're going to try to get you out of here before the afternoon. Welcome. Have a seat at the table.
Thank you.
Please pull the mic close to you. Thank you. And state your name for the record and begin your testimony.
Sure. Good morning, Chairman Jones and members of the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development. I also asked Nicholas Jan, who is our Director of Data and Policy, to join me in case there are questions related to data collection.
Welcome.
Thank you.
I am here this morning to testify on Bill number 170849, sponsored by Councilwoman Blondell Reynolds Brown. As proposed to be amended, this bill requires that a project owner, when developing an economic opportunity plan that will go before City Council, must disclose prior corporate entities in which they had a majority stake that have had projects that were governed by EOPs. This will require increased transparency on the side of the developers and provide both council and OEO with a better vantage point to oversee EOP projects as they proceed. Additionally, it will create a new layer of accountability. If a developer underperforms on one project, they will have to answer for that performance on subsequent projects by being subject to increased monitoring and oversight. On behalf of the administration, I am pleased to support this measure. Subsection 1 of Chapter 17-1603 of the Philadelphia Code requires that project owners seeking council approval share information about their firms related to their histories with diversity. However, many firms that come before council and OEO for an EOP are new entities created specifically for whatever development they are hoping to begin work on. Because of this fact, these developers are not always inclined to disclose diversity information of any other entity with which they were involved. This bill addresses that concern by requiring firms to report on all EOP projects that anyone with a controlling interest in the current firm has worked on. This will be illuminating for council and the administration and can help OEO determine exactly how to approach its oversight activities over the course of the project. OEO currently maintains a database of information on current and past projects with EOPs. This data is accurate for approximately the last 5 years. If OEO is given enough time before submission of the EOP, we can work with the developer and provide project owners to identify and confirm this information. With the amendments developed jointly by Councilwoman Brown's office, OEO, and the Chief Administrative Officer, developers will be required to identify and report all previous firms with which they were involved and all EOP projects those firms worked on. OEO will then check its records for performance data on those firms and projects, and add it to the EOP prior to its submission to council by the developer. We will coordinate with the Office of Developer Services to determine how to implement this new process efficiently and effectively. We have also communicated with developers and construction managers on how this bill will affect their work, and we believe that if OEO supports their data collection, The new reporting requirement will not impose an excessive burden. For this reason, it is important that this bill be scoped to EOP performance only. Over time, we will increase the EOP record retention requirements to 5 years in order to give developers the opportunity to comply with accurate information and ensure that we have solid and verifiable data upon which we can rely for past performance. We believe that this bill helps to increase transparency and accountability and will ultimately make OEO more effective in terms of data collection and oversight. We are happy to work with council to get this done. On behalf of the administration, I would like to thank the sponsor, Councilwoman Brown, and her staff for inviting us to work closely with them in developing the amendments that are before you. We believe that they enhance the bill as a tool for oversight and accountability. Thank you, and I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Madam Director. Councilwoman, do you have any questions?
I do not. The beauty of this hearing this morning is that we worked out all the kinks over many, many weeks of work. And because of that, I have no questions this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman Brown. And I would say, I listened to your testimony intensely, and it answered 99% of the questions I would have. So I have one. You mentioned you wanted to limit it to the scope of the OEO. Could you elaborate a little bit by way of data why you want to limit it to that?
The scope of the EOP.
Yes, EOP,
Yes.
sorry.
Because that is what we currently track, is diversity data related to EOPs that come before council. Do you want to add to?
Yeah, exactly. So if the bill was scoped beyond that, and we were asking developers to provide just like general diversity performance on various projects that did not have EOPs, we would not be able to confirm that data.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was
it.
my question. Are there any other questions for this panel? Seeing none, thank you very much for your testimony.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Are there any others to testify on this bill? Seeing none. This will conclude our public hearing, and we will now go into our public meeting to consider action on, to be taken on Bill number 170849. The chair now recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for an amendment to Bill number 170849.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I offer an amendment to Bill number 170849. A copy of the amendment has been circulated to all members of the committee, and I move that the amendment to Bill number 170849 be approved.
Second. It has been moved and properly seconded that the amendment to Bill number 170849 be approved. All those in favor will signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? The ayes have it, and motion carries. And the amendment to Bill number 170849 has been approved. Chair again recognizes Councilwoman Reynolds Brown for motion on the amended bill number 170849.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I move that Bill number 170849 as amended be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation, and further move that the rules of council be suspended so as to permit first reading at our next scheduled session.
Second, it has been moved and properly seconded and is there a motion? Is there a vote? All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed? Got it. The ayes have it, and the motion carries. Bill number 170849 as amended will be reported from this committee with a favorable recommendation and with a request that the rules of council be suspended to permit first reading at our next session of council. This concludes the business of this committee, the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development, and would the author of this successfully passed legislation have a comment?
I do. I really do not take it for granted when we work, when opposite sides of government work together. And we started on this, I think, in April, May, or June, and worked through the summer. And so we're now at the end, close to the end of session, and we have a tangible work product that was really the result of team effort. Granted, we didn't start all on the same page, but we worked and figured it out to do it in a way that is not onerous to the administration, and that should not go unrecognized. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
No, thank you for, again, staying focused on this issue. It is important for the public to know that we are interested in inclusion and diversity within the contracting process. What Ms. Harper does is an essential part of that, and so thank you for staying focused on this. This concludes the business of the Committee on Commerce and Economic Development for today. Thank you very much. Hearing adjourned.